Japan's carry trade is collapsing right under our noses. This whole thing could flip the script on XRP and reshape the backbone of global finance. But the million-dollar question, are Japan and the rest of the world even remotely equipped for what's barreling toward them? I'm about to break down everything happening between the US and Japan in real time. Let's tear into this so you're armed with the full picture. I stumbled on this killer post that really captures where things stand. Ex-finance bullies has, "Strap in, XRP is about to take the spotlight. As Japan's economy cracks, XRP lays the rails for the rebuild. By the end of the year, 80% of Japanese banks are expected to be using XRP and the Bank of Japan collaborating with Ripple. The nation isn't just reacting, it's rebuilding its economic engine. XRP is turning remittances, exports, and tokenized assets into unstoppable liquidity flows. Faster payments means faster trade, real-time FX, and unlocking capital from trillions in illiquid assets. While trade wars shrink GDP, XRP expands access, speed, and global reach. Japan's edge won't be tariffs, it will be tech. The future of economic strength won't be built with policy, it will be built with new rails. Are you seeing the shift? So check it out. This clip is a bit dated, but it gives you the backstory of what kicked off months ago. I'm going to roll a snippet for you here. Just a heads up, we're looking at footage from when those trade war battles were first starting to boil over. Take a listen to this.
Japan's economy shrank more than expected over the March quarter. GDP contracted by 0.7%, or more than 3 times the drop analysts had forecast. The downturn was driven by stagnant private consumption and exports, and the numbers suggest the economy was losing steam even before Donald Trump's tariffs kicked in. The US president has imposed 10% duties on most countries, with Japan to face 24% levies from July unless it can strike a deal before then. Trump himself has suggested that could be possible.
From Japan, I'm getting along very well with Japan. We're very close to a deal.
But Trump has also put 25% tariffs on US car imports, a critical sector for Japan. And prospects for an agreement with Washington remain very uncertain. With exports and consumption weak, economists say it's not clear what can drive growth. That could put Tokyo under pressure to step in. Some lawmakers have already urged Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba to cut taxes or provide more stimulus. However, the government says there are no such plans for now. The trade war also leaves the Bank of Japan with a difficult decision. It had been expected to do more interest rate increases, but that could change if a Trump-induced slowdown gathers momentum.
You know what? Forget about the rest of that noise. What matters is getting you up to speed on this trade deal and what they actually agreed to. So here's the fresh intel. Japan will invest $550 billion in US projects, with investment projects selected and managed by the US government. Japan will also increase US imports of US rice up by 75%, purchase $8 billion annually in agricultural products, and $7 billion annually in US energy products. The US will accept Japanese safety certificates for vehicles, easing the path for US automakers to sell in Japan without additional testing. Japan will buy US commercial aircraft and defense equipment, supporting the US aerospace and defense sectors. The agreement also includes a framework for cooperation on critical minerals or rare earths in the US and Japan, signaling a Memorandum of Understanding in October 2025. Implementation of ongoing developments. The agreement is being implemented through a series of executive orders and memoranda, with the U.S. Commerce Secretary monitoring Japan's progress and updating the president of the implementation. If Japan fails to fund approved U.S. investment projects, the U.S. can respond by raising tariffs. Japan's got some real skin in the game this time, which is why they'll likely stick to their word. Here's the deal. Governments make flashy announcements constantly, but when push comes to shove, most of them ghost you, right? Look back at the last 10 or 20 years. We've heard endless pledges about injecting billions or trillions somewhere. Fast forward, and what shows up? Zilch. Or you get lucky with 10% if the wind's blowing right. But they've actually wired in mechanisms here to prevent anyone from backing out. All right, now we're getting to the juicy part. You've seen how we got here, so peep this. The yen carry train singularity. Japan's 40-year bond just hit 3.69%. It's the highest since 2007. Hold up, what was the big deal about 2007? Bingo, that's when everything melted down. This is not a number, this is a detonator. Behind that yield sits 20 trillion in carry train exposure, borrowed yen, funding everything from treasuries to tech stocks to Bitcoin. For decades, this trade printed money. Now, Japan's bond market is calling in the loan. The yen carry train unwind connects to 9 other leverage pools, and they exceed $50 trillion. The Treasury basis trade 1 to 2 trillion to 100 to 1 leverage. Hedge funds are arbitraging cash bonds against futures. One volatility spike triggers margin calls that will force Treasury selling. Commercial real estate, $957 billion in loans maturing this year, 3 times the historic average. Regional banks hold 28.7% of those assets in CRE. 59 banks now exceed 300% equity exposure, which is awful. Private credit, $3 trillion. Interest coverage ratios have collapsed to 1x. Borrowers are covering interest payments with operating income, no margin for error. Corporate bankruptcy, 694 this year, highest since 2010. This year running 12% above pandemic levels. Zero-day options, 51% of S&P 500 volume. $1 trillion in daily notional. Dealers flip from stabilizers to accelerants when volatility spikes. Japanese pensions, 4.4 trillion invested abroad. They bought 28 trillion yen in domestic bonds in 8 months, the largest reparation in 14 years. They are coming home. China, Treasury holdings down 18% from peak, gold reserves up 11 consecutive months. These pools are not speculative. They are connected through funding markets, margin systems, and correlation structures that activate simultaneously under stress. The question is not whether Japan matters. The question is whether you understand what Japan just told us. The unwind has begun. So look, things are getting a bit wild out there, okay? The panic's real, and you can see it happening in the markets right now. Ripple is being utilized across Japan for cross-border domestic payment flows. Here's what I want to know. What's the actual play for Ripple and XRP in all this chaos? Hang on, let me bring this up so you can see what I mean. Listen to this.
When do you think the reverse carry trade is most likely going to happen? I think they need XRP futures in place, and I think they need the ETFs lined up. I think all the dominoes need to be in place. The stablecoin bill is there. It can be passed very quickly. Tether has already pretty much moved offshore, but they've been told that they will be subject to the stablecoin bill and the U.S. regulations. You've got MiCA in place. You've got the UK ready to go with their digital pound and the digital euro in the Eurozone. You've got all of these other large central banks ready to push their stablecoin and central bank digital currency, including the Bank of Japan. The Bank of Japan is ready to go with everything that they need. We're just waiting on oil to skyrocket. I don't know if that's going to come from a shortage or something that happens in the Middle East, but that will cause the Bank of Japan to have to hike interest rates very quickly, and everything will kick off. That's going to be the gunshot that I think is going to stir all this and make it happen. And it's going to happen way faster than people anticipate because everything's lined up, ready to go for when they kick this deal off. So I think after the 19th here in May, I think that's the last piece that they need in place is the CME in order to be able to hedge and profit off of this. You've already got the XXRP ETF, which is a 2x leverage long futures XRP ETF. And then you've also got ProShares, which has launched their long and short XRP ETFs. No spot ETFs yet. I think all the institutions are on board. I think Jamie Dimon and Chase and JP Morgan are on board. I think HSBC, I think the BIS, I think the IMF, I think the Fed, I think the Treasury, I think the US, I think the BRICS nations. Everybody is green light, ready to go.
Pretty fascinating stuff, right? All those nations and deals Jake was breaking down just now. So check this. Yes, Ripple's move to ISO 2022 is connected to the effort to thrust XRP to the front line of international finance. But here's what I'm really curious about. Once the house of cards tumbles, what's left standing? How does the world pivot into whatever financial system is waiting around the corner? Is XRP the key that unlocks that door? That's the piece I'm laser focused on right now. All right, so Japan update. done. You know I'll be back with more details the second anything new surfaces. Things are accelerating like crazy though, and the next chapter is writing itself as we speak. Keep your eyes peeled because, honestly, anything could happen from here. Jake Claver's up next. This dude's diving into the possibility of XRP making its way into state treasuries right here in America. Roll the tape and listen to this.
To see this at the state level as well. I mean, we've already talked about the municipal bonds in New Hampshire. I think you're going to see more states start to replicate this. Can you pay your state and local taxes through Bitcoin, through XRP, through Ethereum? I think this is going to be, it's a copycat government system. Well, it'll be huge.
Okay, so, all right.
Look, this is where things get really interesting for getting the right people into power. And I'm talking everywhere from your local state capital all the way up to Washington, D.C. You know, your representatives, your senators, the whole crew. Each state runs its own show with different chambers and branches, plus you've got the big leagues at the federal level with the House and Senate calling the shots. So what's the deal right now? Every single state is scrambling to figure out their angle on this crypto revolution that's unfolding. And there's a massive reason why. Voters are actually skin in the game now. They're not just curious anymore. They've put their hard-earned cash into crypto. And trust me, they care about what happens to it. What these folks are looking for is pretty straightforward. They want champions who actually understand crypto. Whether that's men or women, doesn't matter. They just want leaders who will fight for this space at every level of government. And guess what's starting to happen? The conversation is exploding. More politicians are waking up to this reality and speaking up about it. That's the secret sauce right there. That's your pathway to onboarding the next wave of 10, 50, maybe even 100 million people into crypto. When crypto finally breaks through that mainstream barrier, and I mean really breaks through, you're going to see it sitting right alongside the heavyweight questions. Picture this: debates where candidates are getting hammered about fixing the economy, improving infrastructure, and then bam, what's your crypto position? The second it lands in that top tier conversation category, backed by actual working regulations, we've basically made it. And listen, we're not talking years away here. We're talking right around the corner. Now, let me tell you about Caroline Pham. She's been absolutely killing it while running the CFTC as acting chair. So here's the interesting part. She just dropped something on lock-in from her personal account. Pretty bold move, right? And if you look at what she's putting out there, it seems like she's maybe running a play from Brad Garlinghouse's handbook. There's definitely some echo of his strategy in what she's doing here. This was just such a vibe, honestly. Everyone's been buzzing about it. Excuse me. So look at this. Upbit is on fire. XRP is dominating again. XRP is #1 on Upbit with massive volume. Listen, watching XRP smoke Bitcoin gets me hyped every single time. And wait, even Monad's leaving Bitcoin in the dust over on Upbit. That's wild. Can we just take a moment for Korea though? South Korea has been absolutely carrying the XRP volume game lately. Mad respect for that energy. Oh, and real quick, Grayscale jumped in to clear something up because someone apparently threw out 1.5% as their fee. They're like, hold on, let's get this straight. It's totally free for 3 months, then shifts to just 0.35%. That's actually massive. Anyone following these trackers really needs the accurate info, you know? Someone dropped this chart today showing XRP ETF inflows. Pull this up and watch what the volume's been doing. We've hit 600 million and it's still climbing. Like, come on. And this all happened in what, 11 days? 11 days! My brain's already spinning thinking about what comes next. Give it 30 days. Push it to 90. Where do these ETFs land in half a year? What about 12 months down the road? The possibilities are nuts. Look, crypto's literally rebuilding how finance works from the ground up, yeah? You could break down why in a million different ways, talk for hours about the impact. But here's what actually happens. Regular folks buy in, they're not ready for the roller coaster, prices dip, they panic hard, and before you know it, they've bailed out. Then watch it surge right back. Here's what I'm doing. Just accumulating, no second guessing. When we finally arrive at that zone where I'm nodding like, all right, this is it. That's my cue to act. But till we're there, my portfolio stays closed. I refuse to look because I've learned the pattern. 1 minute I'm celebrating, the next I'm spiraling. You've got to kill the emotional noise completely. Eyes on the prize. Stay locked on where we're actually going. Let me throw this on screen. Listen to this.
I had my first Bitcoin, I bought at 126. My message to those people is, okay, if you have some dough, average down here. This is a good opportunity. But what happens is people buy, and then if it doesn't go in their direction, they get skittish or they get nervous.
Peter Brandt once said to me in an interview, he said, I tell my son, buy a good company and hope it goes down 50% so you can buy some more.
You use the price as your friend. The manic depression of the market is an opportunity for you.
These drops are literally handing you gold, folks. XRP sliding under $2, that's not scary. That's your window. I'm camped out waiting for exactly this, scooping it up. We're all hunting the same thing here, snagging bargains while the climb continues. All right, stopping here before my head explodes with thoughts. Content's rolling out nonstop. You'll stay plugged into everything happening. Really glad you tuned in today. If you pulled something useful from this, hit that like. Throw your take in the comments below, but honestly, just grateful you gave me your time. I'll catch you in the next upload.